In 2015, one decision exposed the economics of the pharmaceutical industry more clearly than 1,000 corporate reports ever could. A company acquired the rights to an old medication used to treat a serious parasitic infection. The drug had existed for decades. Its formula had not changed. Its production process had not changed. But almost overnight, the price of one tablet jumped from $13.50 to $750. The public outrage was immediate. Politicians demanded answers. News outlets turned the company's chief executive into a symbol of corporate greed. But focusing on one executive misses the larger lesson. The scandal was not simply about one person behaving badly. It revealed how the system works when the usual complexity is stripped away. The company controlled access to the drug and restricted its distribution so tightly that potential generic competitors had difficulty obtaining samples needed for testing. The medicine itself was not especially difficult to produce. What mattered was control. Control over supply, control over access, and control over the legal right to sell. That distinction is the key to understanding how pharmaceutical companies make money. The tablet is not always the most valuable part of the business. The true asset is often the period of legal exclusivity surrounding it. Consider insulin. It was discovered more than a century ago, and modern versions can be manufactured for a fraction of what many American patients have historically paid. Or consider Humira, a biologic drug used for conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's disease. The physical cost of producing a year of treatment has been estimated at only a small portion of the price charged to the healthcare system. So where does the difference go? It supports research, failed experiments, regulatory work, manufacturing, marketing, insurance negotiations, legal teams, investors, and an entire network of intermediaries. But above all, the price reflects the value of temporary market protection. A successful drug is not merely a chemical compound. It is a protected commercial territory. In the United States, patents generally last 20 years from the date they are filed. That may sound like 2 full decades of sales protection, but drug companies usually file patents early in the discovery process. Years can pass before the medicine is tested in people, proven effective, approved by regulators, and released to the public. By the time a drug finally reaches pharmacies or hospitals, a large part of its patent life may already be gone. The company might have only 7 to 12 years of meaningful commercial exclusivity left. During that window, it must recover the cost of development, cover the cost of failed projects, satisfy investors, and earn as much as possible before competition arrives. Patents are only one layer of protection. The Food and Drug Administration can also grant marketing exclusivity. A new chemical entity may receive several years without generic competition. Biologic medicines receive longer protection because they are more complicated to reproduce. Drugs developed for rare diseases may receive additional exclusivity, and certain pediatric studies can extend protection even further. Then there are secondary patents. A major drug company rarely depends on a single patent for a blockbuster product. It may file patents covering the formulation, delivery device, manufacturing process, dosage schedule, coating, concentration, or method of treatment. One drug can end up surrounded by dozens or even hundreds of separate claims. This creates what attorneys call a patent thicket, a dense legal barrier that competitors must challenge one piece at a time. Humira became one of the most famous examples. After its approval in 2002, it grew into one of the highest-grossing medicines in history, producing more than $20 billion in annual revenue at its peak. Its manufacturer created a vast portfolio of patents around the product, many of them filed after Humira was already on the market. The strategy succeeded. Lower-cost biosimilar versions became available in Europe years before they entered the American market. In the United States, legal disputes and settlement agreements delayed broad competition until 2023. For a product generating billions of dollars every year, even a short extension of exclusivity can be worth an extraordinary amount of money. But there is another side to this business model. Developing a medicine is risky, slow, and extremely expensive. Estimates vary widely, but bringing one successful drug to market can require close to $1 billion or significantly more when failed research and the cost of invested capital are included. Critics argue that the highest estimates are exaggerated and do not fully account for taxpayer-funded research. Even so, almost everyone agrees that drug development is financially brutal. Imagine researchers screening thousands of possible compounds. Only a tiny number will ever enter human trials. Phase 1 studies focus mainly on safety and usually involve small groups. Phase 2 studies test whether the drug appears to work in patients with the target condition. Phase 3 trials can involve thousands of participants across multiple countries and cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Most candidates fail somewhere along the way. A compound may prove unsafe. It may not work better than existing treatment. It may show promising early results and then collapse in a larger trial. It may succeed scientifically but fail commercially because the patient population is too small or competitors reach the market first. That means one approved medicine must often carry the financial weight of many failed experiments. This is why investors do not evaluate a pharmaceutical company like a supermarket or an automaker. They view it more like a portfolio of high-risk bets. Most projects may never generate revenue, but one blockbuster can produce enough money to transform the entire company. Different firms manage that risk in different ways. Some spread their investments across vaccines, cancer therapies, immunology, and rare diseases. Others depend heavily on one dominant product. Merck, for example, built enormous revenue around the cancer drug Keytruda. Novo Nordisk concentrated on diabetes and metabolic disease, placing itself at the center of the explosive market for GLP-1 medicines. Drugs such as Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro showed how quickly one therapeutic category can reshape an industry. Originally developed around diabetes and metabolic health, these medicines also demonstrated major weight loss benefits. Demand became so intense that pharmacies struggled to keep them in stock. In this case, the challenge was not only patents or clinical science. Manufacturing became a competitive advantage. Producing sterile injectable medicines at massive scale requires specialized equipment, strict quality controls, glass cartridges, and injector pens assembled with precision. Companies invested billions in new facilities because the ability to supply the market became almost as valuable as the legal right to sell the drug. Yet even after a medicine is approved, protected, and manufactured, one major question remains: who actually pays the bill? In the American system, the patient is only one part of a long chain. Between the drug maker and the person receiving treatment are wholesalers, pharmacies, insurers, government programs, and pharmacy benefit managers. The price announced publicly is often not the amount the manufacturer ultimately receives. Drug companies negotiate confidential rebates and discounts in exchange for favorable placement on insurance formularies. This creates a large gap between the list price and the net price. A manufacturer can increase the public price while collecting little additional revenue, or even less, after rebates. The largest pharmacy benefit managers control access to millions of insured patients. They can demand substantial discounts from manufacturers and decide which drugs receive preferred coverage. That gives them enormous negotiating power. It also creates a strange incentive. A medicine with a higher list price may generate a larger rebate, making it more attractive to certain intermediaries even when a lower-priced alternative exists. Meanwhile, patients paying cash or facing high deductibles may receive none of those negotiated savings and can end up exposed to something close to the full sticker price. This is where pharmaceutical pricing becomes more than a story about manufacturers. It becomes a story about patents, insurers, middlemen, legal protection, research risk, and a healthcare system in which the person who needs the medicine may understand the price least of all.